What if I told you the way it has always been done is not the best way? Facing your fears will change your life. The passion behind this journey is merging two separate worlds into one with the goal of creating value and awareness for a better life.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
This episode is brought to you by R&R Pipeline, an infrastructure company. Our purpose? Enhancing America's infrastructure with a safety-driven, integrity-led culture that provides an environment for team members to grow and thrive. Welcome to another edition of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. Today's guest is an iron addict like myself, another girl dad, God bless us all, and he took a risk that most people would not ever think about taking. They would live a life of misery and not chase their dreams. And this man chases dreams. Matt Jasper, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
We've been having a great conversation before we started really hopping on here and recording. And man, you know, you've done some pretty incredible stuff in your journey so far. I want to start with the risk. You were living a life that you didn't like, and you took a chance that 99% of the people in the world would probably be terrified to even consider. Tell me about it.
Yeah, living a good life. What would have been a comfortable life, well off financially. Right before COVID, built a house on family property. I'm the fifth generation to live here on the family farm. I've got 10 years of business banking experience, and past, little stint in personal training. I had a client who asked me to be the CAO of their dermatology company. They had 5 different locations, a few in Chicago, here in Southwest Michigan. They had one. So was making 6 figures. When we moved in at COVID, my wife was pregnant, and so we were expecting a girl. And, here I am, mid-30s, making good money. They got the chief role, the chief title that everyone looks for. Mm-hmm. I looked at it from when we moved into the house, when I was working at a credit union, what I was making there and what I was making then as the CAO. I'd have a brand new house that we just built paid off in like 5 years. And in my head, I had this idea that, when I pay the house off, I'll do what I'm doing now. I'd have been pushing 40 at 40. Would I have done it then? Would I have taken that leap? I don't know. I'd like to think I still would have, but when my daughter was born, working that job, it was coming home at night, not liking what I was doing, not passionate about it, knowing I had this dream in mind. And then I dreaded going to work in the morning. I'd sit at the edge of the bed when she was still in our room. She was about 2-3 months old. Sit there next to my wife and just stare at her and just not wanting to go to work. Didn't want to do it. Knew I wasn't meant for this. And her being in my life really pushed me to be the person I should be so that she can then do that in the future. I didn't want to be the dad coming home who wasn't present, wasn't a good father, wasn't a good husband, was just pissed at what I do. I wanted to be the dad that didn't just say it, I did it. So told my wife I was going to quit my job and start a personal training company. And bless her, we have conversation now, 4 years later. And she's like, yeah, I was more scared than I let on, but I believed in you. She believed in me. She had faith in me. And that means the world to me. I can't say enough about her. For her to just, quit your 6-figure job with benefits and 401k. She was working at a salon, so she's self-employed, so I leave. Now we've got to figure it all out. And, but she was on board 100%. And so it started out of my mom and dad's garage. They have a farm. It was a finished garage, started out of there, instantly contacted all those past clients I had from, 10 years prior when I was a trainer. And I think within the first week I had about a dozen people already. So wow. That probably helped her a little bit, knowing that, okay, he wasn't just bullshitting me. But yeah, it was really wanting to be the dad and the husband that I knew I could be doing this and chasing a dream.
Man, that's awesome. It takes serious conviction, serious passion, and knowing that it's going to be really hard, uncertain, scary, but having more faith than you let yourself have fear. Both faith and fear really demand that you believe in something that you can't see, either way. And you had to make a choice, and you chose to have faith that it would work out, and it definitely seems like it is. And I know for myself, man, when I went all in trying to buy R&R and doing all the things, I never understood how alive and present in the moment I was. And because it was so hard, and most of the time I would dwell on it or I would wear it on my face. And now when hard happens, I embrace it. I have gratitude for it because I know it's right before something good is going to happen. And it's really powerful when you can just know that it's going to be hard and get excited about it, embrace it, take it at face value because you're doing it on your terms. And the man in the arena, my most favorite all-time quote, it's not the critic who counts, it's the person in the arena. And just being in that arena creates a different element of confidence, a different level of passion, because there is no plan B. You either die trying or you do it. And if you die, you're dead, so it don't really matter. So you have to do it. That's the only option. When you get that mindset, the world changes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's, like you said, fear and faith are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what was I going to do if I didn't do it? Just live my life and then look back and regret it. So, yeah, it was getting in there. Everyone had their 2 cents. When you say you're going to do it, everyone thought you were crazy. But here I am, 4 years later. Now looking at 40, 50 clients. I see every week. And now looking at trying to figure out how I can expand and keep getting uncomfortable. Keep pushing the boundaries of what. Okay, I thought I could do this, but why should I just stop here and be okay? When you can be great.
Yeah, and when you set out on that journey and you do anything where it's hard, you put a goal out there and you're going towards something. Sometimes you can only see so far, and then you get to that point that you can just see, and then you just see a little bit more. And doesn't mean you have the whole plan figured out, but just seeing a little bit. The journey to 1,000 miles starts with the first step, and that first step is always the hardest. And it's so hard to overlook the fear, be quick and decisive about the push forward. But when you do it once, it creates ultimate like superpower internally because the confidence that I can do this thing. It's really hard. It's very risky. And then you realize after you take that leap, the real risk was staying miserable. That was because you lose yourself. Now I'm doing it on my terms. There I was doing it on their terms. And so kudos to you, man. That's a hell of a accomplishment. Something you should be very proud of.
Yeah, I'm proud of it. But like I said, proud of what you've done, but never satisfied. I think you've mentioned it in the podcast before, where you get to the top of that mountain, you think you're at the highest peak, and then you look over and you're like, oh wait, that peak's a little bit higher. Let's keep going. So, still wanting to push, and that's again, it's just wanting to be the example for my daughter. I don't like the saying, "Do as I say, not as I do."
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna walk the walk, and I want her to follow in my footsteps, and then my wife kind of is as well. It's I start building this building, and we realize when she worked at a salon, her booth rent got jacked up, and we hadn't quite like carved everything out yet. It was still just a shell. So I was like, well, why don't you do your own thing? But I don't need the whole 40 by 60. Carve out a section. So now that's where I'm right now, as I'm in her salon, just because the gym's a little noisier. It's got the old propane heater out there, and here she's got the nice, mini split,
fancy one. Yeah.
bowl, she got the nice stuff. But so yeah, now we're both working right behind our house. Our house is right over there. It's yeah, it's pushed her to now she's doing her own thing, and I love that my daughter can come in here and see that and get that lesson.
Dude, that's such a valuable lesson. Your daughter is not going to know anything but, happiness, fulfillment, and pursuit of your dream,
Mm-hmm.
and that in itself is it's worth everything. My girls love to go into the office, just hang out, run around. We have a training facility and where our main headquarters is, and we have a secondary building. It's 6 or 7 thousand square foot like training center where we do all of our qualifications and classwork and whatnot. And we have like inventory there as well. And every time we go in there, they have cones and hats and signs, and they have a job site going on. And I embrace it, dude, because it's so cool to see that. Because that's what I used to do when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I have such a amount of gratitude for being able to take them in there and enjoy that, and showing your girl the way. Like tonight we have jiu-jitsu. My girls are in jiu-jitsu, and my daughter just got a belt promotion
Nice.
probably a month or so
Congrats.
ago. Dude, I was
Yeah.
almost in tears, because it's like a year and a half delayed gratification at its highest, which segue right to the iron. Man,
Mm-hmm.
whew, delayed gratification, the journey. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm sure you've had plenty of injuries. You've overcame things.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about, from your point of view, the carryover from the gym, the iron, to life, business in general. Just what's it look like to you, your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's metaphorical or very like similar. Everything in life is very similar to what happens in the gym. And I think there's a lot to be said that if you change things with your health and fitness, you can change the rest of your life because you change that. It's kind of, I think that's the snowball effect of you can change this first. A lot of other things fall into place, whether it's your work, whether it's your family life, your social life. I think it can be it's not going to be easy, but I think it can be the easier change that leads to more change in your life. You have to, like you said, you have to learn delayed gratification. Like I don't show up in the gym tomorrow and bench as much as you do, like you have to work towards that. You're not going to lose 100 pounds, this week. You got to keep working towards that. And, same thing in life. Like you don't become CEO of a business that you never put any time into. You got to put in the time first.
Yeah,
And well, maybe some people do. Maybe the trust fund babies, things like that. But you know, um, yeah, it's much more gratifying when you put in that work and you reach that destination, and then you can look back and realize it's because of what you did. And that's what I try to remind people all the time when they're in here. I've had multiple clients, losing a large amount of weight, and they'll thank me, they'll give me shout outs, and I'm like, look, this isn't me. You did the work. I can't do it for you. Like, yeah, I'm here to help and hold you accountable, but I do that for a lot of people, and a lot of them won't meet their goals because they're not doing the work. So it's very, very similar to life. If you put the work in, you're going to get the reward in the end.
1,000%. I agree with everything. Such a good perspective too. You know, doing the work, just that statement in itself, no matter how hard you try in preparation, no matter how great your game plan is, no matter how strong your network is, no matter how much you do to prep for the work, think about the work, all this other shit, doing the damn thing is the only thing that actually gets accomplishment met. All of that other stuff is important in its own right to the action taken, but you have to be intentional with what action you do take, with the time that you allocate toward it, but you have to take action. I know a lot of people that have a lot of dreams and visions and all this other shit that are nothing but a fairy tale because they are never going to pursue it with action. And it's hard. I don't know very many people in general that can see a vision and then just start on it. This podcast was that way for me, dude. I was sitting down with a sheet of paper. I just got out of the shower one morning. I think it was like a Saturday morning. I just got out of the shower. I'm going out. I'm sitting at our breakfast nook with my girls coloring and whatnot, and I just start like having this idea, and it hit me in the shower. I run out. I'm writing stuff down like a crazy person. Next thing you know, I'm drawing a logo of a plate with iron infrastructure on it. And it was like 2 months before the show launched. And then like 6 weeks before, G said something to me about, man, you got to get this thing put together. Because I had a pretty good opportunity at that point to go on another podcast for an interview. And he's like, you can't plug your show if it's not released yet. And he's basically like, get your shit together and get it done. So in 6 weeks, essentially, I went from ground zero to done and had an episode out. And it taught me so many valuable lessons, but it still remains the same on the basic component. You got to go for it with what you do, not what you say.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And you said, so it's hard, but it's a lot of times simple. The steps to financial freedom, the steps to a healthy lifestyle, it's not rocket science usually. Like it's simple concepts that I try to teach people in the gym. Just same with getting results outside the gym. It's usually there for you. It's just whether or not you're doing it. Doing it's the hard part sometimes. But it's simple. Just stop overthinking it and do the work.
Be okay with being bored. People want this great elaborate plan and all this detail and this big thing, this pill, this whatever to get the thing done. Wake your ass up, go to the gym, lift heavy weights, eat good, sleep good. Like, it's not rocket science, like you said. It's very simple 99% of the time. Doesn't mean it's easy. A lot of time it is hard, but it is simple. But it's really, really clear majority of the time. It's just it's not sexy though. And that delayed gratification that we've got from the gym, overcoming injuries, there's days where I had a pec injury a couple years ago, dude, and it was hard for me to think about going to the gym because I couldn't do it. But then what kind of example am I setting there? Someone who talks like we do, they really show you who they are in moments of setback, because that is the ultimate key to opportunity is adversity to me. And everybody can talk great when they're good and when it's on. Show me who you are. Show me where your discipline's at when you're beat up, you're battled, you're bruised, you're bloody. Show me who you are in that moment, and I know what kind of person I'm dealing with. And that's one thing that I've never tried to let myself waver on is I show up, because it's more than just me. The 4 a.m. crew is a team, and there was times it was really hard. G had to cuss me out a couple of times, like, Jake, get the fuck out of here. You got a pec torn. Like, I'm trying to lift off for guys. When we were benching, he's like, bro, come on. And I appreciate it because he was right with being an idiot. But being there for them guys when I'm still beat up and bruised and whatever, yeah, that's where the real like chemistry of that crew comes together. And let's talk about that. So you transitioned out of the corporate world, so you've probably seen a lot of corporate-ish environment. I'll paraphrase there,
Yeah.
but a lot of political, probably backstabbing, very individual type of scene. I'm just assuming as much, but
Yeah.
knowing that world, I would say that's about what it is, which probably led to your demise as far as that desire there. Talk about environment now, though. So you can transition from corporate world, you're around people all the time, and then you move into this home, you with your family. Dude, that has to be transformational for you. Let's talk about it.
Oh yeah, huge weight off your shoulders. Everyone wants to think that corporate lifestyle or having that corporate job is safe. They could have fired me the next day. And then now I feel more safe because I can control what's going on. I'd rather work for myself. I'd rather make sure I know that the work I'm putting in will be rewarded to me rather than somebody else. And that's not to say everyone should be an entrepreneur. Everyone should do their own thing. Obviously, we need people to do the day-to-day job. Like you need employees for your company or it wouldn't run. But it just wasn't the lifestyle for me. And yeah, there was a lot of that corporate environment that turned me off. And you feel like you got screwed over here and there. So those were a few straws, eventually that just broke the camel's back. But yeah, that wasn't for me. I'd much rather have the control. And like I said, you're never safe. Like nothing's ever safe, unless you do have that trust fund that sets you up for life. But
I don't know anything about them trust funds. I've never had that luxury, I guess. But it's interesting because we work with a lot of corporate customers, and I've seen good and bad on both. I don't have, a strong opinion either way, but I have seen what can be detrimental to a culture and things of that nature. And, you know, getting in that safe environment for me, being working for anybody else for me was just not safe. I am unemployable, Matt. Like it's just point blank. Like I can't work for. I am unemployable. I would probably be fired very quickly if I had to go work another job. I can't even fathom it now, because I was so structured, driven, and disciplined for 12 years before I became self-employed. But I live life on my terms now, and it doesn't mean that I'm not putting in the work. I'm probably putting in more work now. I'm getting way more done in probably a very similar amount of time. But the evolution is more in the team and the people around you. And getting in that environment is so crucial. If you're surrounded by an environment that drags you down, that drains your energy, and it is so underrated, I think, as far as a productivity hack, be in a place that you can execute without distraction. That's the biggest productivity hack. I just start the thing. Don't have this fancy prep plan. Clock in, do your thing, start to work right away. Don't sit there and think about it forever. Just start doing it and have an environment that you're comfortable in. There's no distraction, and you just don't have to worry about outside interaction, destroying your time. And when I first started to see the progress in that regard, I had to make sure two things. I had to be more productive. I had to be more efficient because there's only a ceiling of hours that you can allocate, and that ceiling doesn't keep going up. Ultimately, the higher you put that ceiling up, the quicker you're going to fall because you can only do so much physically and
Yeah,
mentally.
you'll burn out. Yeah.
Yeah, but but you have to be intentional about the things that matter also, and can't lose sight of the team and the culture and the leadership of that. Where you still got to interact, but you just be more intentional and have better conversation. And I've had a lot of people come and go in and out of my life, family, friends, that I had a very large quantity of people in my life for the longest time, but now I don't because it's just quality.
Mm-hmm.
And all my relationships in life are raising the bar. My bar, the person I'm in that relationship with, it's raising the bar of desire, inspiration, moving forward, whatever it is. Environment is so crucial though, dude. We've
Yeah.
probably been in gym environments where it was the bro workout, we curl every day and talk shit and whatever it is, like that detrimental environment that, I mean, you walk in and you just feel it on you. You got to have that environment set.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one thing, to what I do here that a lot of people talk about, that environment and that, distractions. A lot of people could just lose the weight at their house. There's a lot of options out there, whether you buy a little bit of equipment, do push-ups, sit-ups, prison style workouts, just eat healthier. But a lot of people are going to see the dirty dishes. Like, oh, I'll work out later. I gotta take care of these dishes. So it's that's their environment. Like you need to remove yourself from that environment, whether it's the corporate world, the toxic friends, your house, go to the gym instead, go to the environment that you need to be in to be better. And that's what they have here is, okay, they're here. What are they going to do now? They have to do it. They already paid me. They're at a friendly, safe environment with someone who cares about them. And it's just us, it's not an open gym. There's not people staring at them. A lot of people are threatened by, that environment at the gym, that toxic environment. So, it's just me. Just we're talking. They're working out. They get to ask me questions and not feel stupid. Because other people are going to hear it. So, yeah, remove yourself from those toxic environments and put yourself in the environment or around the people that you aspire to be.
So good. You um, the show me your friends, I'll show you your future is often referenced,
Mm-hmm.
but I always, reference show me your network and I'll show you your net worth. Some of the average five people hang out with are going to have a similar net worth. And, um, not just the financial means, I think, but wealth as a human. The environment is so much more than financial. wealth to me doesn't really have monetary value as much as fulfillment,
Mhm.
personal success, what you feel like internally. And, I always thought that ownership of Arnold Pipeline, the mountain that I climbed up, it was going to be that ultimate prize. And then it wasn't, because it was the person I became to be able to do that. That was the ultimate prize for me. And I'm sure that you can relate to that with your leave of the corporate world going
Yeah.
into what you're doing now. It wasn't what you did, it's who you became to do it.
Mhm.
And when people realize that, you hear a lot of very wealthy, successful people talk about this. And then people that haven't hit that threshold are like, yeah, whatever, they're full of shit. They have all this and that. Well, yeah, they do. And they can tell you that's how it is because they've done it.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize that feeling of, this accomplishment, this accolade really wasn't the win. It was me internally. And kind of like your environment, caring about what other people's perception of you is can be detrimental to you. If you listen to all the outside noise, it'll tear you down.
Mhm.
And if you're not willing to ask someone for advice, this is, in my opinion, I will not listen to any criticism from somebody that I will not ask advice from.
Mhm.
And if I'm asking advice, the person isn't giving me criticism. They're giving me transparency, authenticity. They're telling me what they really feel, what they think with what they see. And that's someone that wants to help you get better. Your network, your environment, they all correlate together. And I think part of personal development to me, who's in your network?
Mhm.
Who do you contact? Who do you talk to? Do you have a phone number for everyone in any situation that you can pick up and call? And I think the very beginning of all breakthroughs in life starts with habit. And personal development, you mentioned atomic habits.
Mhm.
Man, what a powerful thought. I relate it to a pinata. You got a pinata, a birthday party, a bunch of 5 and 10 year olds, in that age group. All the sluggers, the Barry Bonds are up there hitting this pinata. 20
Mhm.
of them up there hit it. None of them break the thing. And
Mhm.
then the little girl comes up and she swings and misses it all, but then turns around, does a 360 and accidentally hits it when she flipped it over her shoulder, and the whole thing explodes. The compound effect.
Mhm.
Whew, man, talk about the habit, the compound effect, and everything that you've done and what it means to you about the little thing and how it stacks up.
Yeah, yeah, that's in the gym, like a lot of people I think refer to that like financially because, oh, I invest some money and it compounds over time. It's the same thing with your habits as far as in the gym. And, like we just talked about, like you're not going to show up today and then lose 20 pounds tomorrow. It's chipping away, constantly over time that's going to lead to those results. And then, you're going to wake up next year and be a completely different person because of just reading 10 pages a day or just starting to walk 20 minutes a day, whatever that habit that you're trying to instill is, it's going to compound over time to bigger results. you know um, Same thing. I try to, one of the big goals for me, we discussed a little bit before we recorded, is time blocking, being better with my time, being better about, if I'm not better in 2025, um, with time blocking and setting aside when I go home, I'm dad and I'm husband. I'm not better for them with that because sometimes work can seep over to the house. You can come up here to Michigan and kick my ass, but it's just, that's my goal for next year is making sure not only am I growing the business, but I'm growing my relationship with my daughter and my wife. And that is the same thing. It's little daily actions that are going to compound over time to when I am in this seat in this, December of next year, I got a better relationship with them because of it.
That's awesome, man. We can talk about it when we get done recording, but I have a couple of things if you're interested on time management that changed
Mm-hmm.
my life forever
Yeah.
a few years ago, and it really set the stage for me to actually become efficient and organized and not chaotic. So we can talk about it,
Yeah.
later on. Um, Personal development. Back to that. Think
Yeah.
and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Mm-hmm.
Atomic Habits. them books, man, them are like the
Yeah.
podium staple books, you know.
Yep.
How I want to transition a little bit, but in the same regard, how did you get to know Corey? How do you know Corey? You know, give me the backstory of that.
I've probably been following him, maybe even bodybuilding.com workouts,
Mm-hmm.
and then the
Oh
Muscle
yeah.
Farm days, the Get Swole workouts. So way back then was how I, started following him. And then it was just trying to learn from him, not only in working out, but, he started doing the podcast, whether it's business and biceps and his G-cast now, all that stuff. It's just again, look at who you want to become and try to learn. They're already there. If you're trying to get there, learn from the person who's already done it. So I think I look up to him more from that aspect now than I even do in the fitness world. What
Mm-hmm.
he's done in the fitness world is amazing. But what he's done personally, and for his family and the things that I've learned from him since then, that's made a bigger impact than teaching me the Get Stack workouts or the Pump 30 workouts. Like you said, anybody can find a workout to do. I just think that personal development side of him is what he's starting to become known for even more. And I think he's going to leave a bigger legacy from that than he does in the fitness industry.
I agree. Um, you'll never find a more authentic through and through person. I have known him for 17, 18 years now. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of wild to think it's that long, but um, he's not been any different from then to now as far as the moral ground he stands on, the belief system he has, and whether you believe the same way he does. You know, he's drug free his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their opinion on it. Um, I don't have a preference. Like what your opinion is your opinion. You know, don't do something and then tell everyone you're doing. Don't say you're doing X and you're really doing Y.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it is what it is. I think. You know, I trained at Westside for years. It's no secret what that gym's about. And G trained there too.
Mm-hmm.
And he just chose a different way, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I commend him for it because, dude, in a world of lack of like authenticity, this motherfucker is as real as it gets, and there is no wavering on who he is as an individual. And I've had a lot of very deep personal conversations with him. I consider him like my best friend now, or one of them. You know, very close friends. And the dude is just a real classy, stand up, generational change kind of guy, and he is exactly who he says he is. And you know, I'm forever grateful that he talked me into buying supplements at 17 and pushing in my life savings and then falling flat on my face. You know, we go way back. Our story is pretty epic. And the what the hell are you doing with your life question? Man, he asked me that question, 20-year-old kid going nowhere. And that forever set me on a different path. And for that, I'm forever grateful. But I remember all the muscle farm days, the get stack workouts. I mean, I would train with them on Saturday morning, the 1,000 rep workouts. I'm sure you remember
Mm-hmm.
that.
Oh yeah.
And I followed them workouts forever.
Yep.
Um, and I did a show in 2013, I think it was, and it was the original busy diet, which was
Mm-hmm.
hell. I was in a hotel room every day, out of town working, did that. Um, but just a true, like, genuine good dude. And I was just curious about that. But
Yeah. Yeah. I
did,
had met him for the first time at that first Mafia event. And that was the first time in person. Had to thank him. Like, hey, you've been a big inspiration for me. And following him, I think, is also what made me really know, like, yeah, this is my goal. This is my dream. I want to do that. And then it took the birth of my daughter to kind of jumpstart it and like make me actually jump because of that. But yeah, he is a huge inspiration in what I do now.
well, just having someone that kind of paved a path at some point and knowing that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
If physics says it's possible, Matt, and you want it, then you better go for it because you're going to die one day. It's inevitable. We all will. And I cannot think of a bigger hell than being on my deathbed, regretting all the things I didn't try to do, regretting not spending that time with my girls, whatever it is. I will not die with regret of not trying something or spending enough time somewhere or doing whatever. Um, and you have to be very strong-willed and determined to be able to do that sometimes. And it's not for everybody. Some people just don't want that life, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely okay. Just know that whatever we do, whatever we think about, is what we ultimately become. And this from the jump you took. Some people just never get out of that, detrimental hatred, packed misery environment. And Steve Jobs is somebody that for me is profound, and I've studied a lot of his influence in the world, honestly, especially more recently, and connecting the dots. He talks a lot about connecting the dots and how he dropped out of college, went to a calligraphy course. I'm not sure if you know the story, but basically, the Apple font was created after he drops out of college and just goes to some calligraphy course. Didn't pay for it, didn't get any accolade from it, but it sat in there and it just clicked. It was useless to him at the time. He changed the world with it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Corey asked me after that, what the hell are you doing with your life? It was, why don't you become a personal trainer? Went back to work at R&R after that all happened, and I started studying for personal training. And NESA certified was the thing that I don't know even if it still exists now, but I was getting ready to go take the test and basically got put in a position that was, I am a pipeliner or I'm a personal trainer. I had to kind of make a choice there. I won't elaborate on the situation, but basically that was it. Where if I was going to go personal train on the weekends, I better just make that my life, my livelihood. I was furious though, and I went and took the test. I actually passed the test. Said I failed it. I'm a pipeliner. I never talked about it for the longest time. That person I actually told that to don't even know this to this day, but I didn't understand. I was pissed. Why is this not, why can't I do both? It wasn't my time yet. And I didn't know it then. G starts muscle farm right after that. He goes on that journey. Then he starts, max effort. And next thing you know, man, I just wanted to be a part of something like that. And I never understood it. Like, why? Why not me? I didn't dwell on it, but I was still like curious. And now I know because I can connect the dots. It wasn't my time yet. For the longest time, I just had to just go through this thing and focus on the one win, the big hurdle, the big mountain to climb was R&R pipeline. And once that happened, it was like the floodgates opened up of understanding the reality of the world and then being able to connect some dots. So 2019, close on, R&R. 2020, Corey calls, hey, got this going on. Are you in? So become, a shareholder of Max Effort. And I think 2021 we started CrossFit Uprising, maybe 22, somewhere in there. Bought a new house, and then every year there's been some sort of event, and then the Iron Infrastructure Show. So it was now the Iron and Infrastructure podcast and the business in itself, Matt, is nothing more than me connecting dots of Max Effort Muscle, R&R Pipeline, and all the adversity of my life is the Iron and Infrastructure LLC. And being able to connect dots and knowing it's going to work out. Did you have any of that thought? Can you look back and connect dots now and you're like, oh shit, now I know why that didn't happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of instances of life. I mean, before you hit record here, we were talking about, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And I think a lot of that, when you can play armchair quarterback and look back over those years, you can connect the dots, fairly easy. But like, yeah, there's, why did I work in the business field? I think it's made me a better business owner. I have a double major in accounting and finance. There's a lot of people who are good personal trainers, but maybe can't run a personal training business because they don't understand business. I spent numerous years working in business lending. I looked at a lot of balance sheets, a lot of tax returns. I know that side of business as well as the personal training side. And now when you mesh those together, it's like, oh wait, that's why I was meant to do that. Um, we didn't talk about before. I went through a divorce. That was not fun, but it happened for a reason. That's what got me out of the little personal training thing that I was doing before, is because I needed to go back to a normal job. Working for a gym at $18 an hour wasn't going to cut it. So I went to the credit union, pre-divorce, but I was at the credit union. We got divorced, working on a project at the credit union with a guy who's now a friend, who introduced me to his wife's best friend, who's now my wife, and we have a kid. All my life, I was looking forward to being a dad and a husband, and didn't take the path and the route I wanted to. But you connect the dots, and you're like, I was meant to be here, and then work with him, then meet her, and then these two girls are the ones that believed in me, and was the motivation for why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And all of that, is just the path that I took that ended beautifully here, or messy, whichever way you look at it. But yeah.
That's beautiful, man. Honestly, that's awesome because, through every hardship, eventually you see why. And it's not understood then because you can't connect dots until later. You got to have all the dots aligned to connect them. But when you get that opportunity to, at least for me, it created a new level of gratitude and appreciation for the good and the bad. Because with every hard time, bad time, it's right on the other side of that is something good, a breakthrough. And, like this year in business was a roller coaster up and down, uncertainty, all kind of things happening. And it was just a preparation for what's getting ready to happen next.
Yep.
And because of all the things in the past and being able to connect dots, earlier in life and understanding what that looks like now, you can't connect them, but you know that whatever's meant to be will be. And you just have to do what you can to do. Focus on the controllable. Work on that controllable thing that you can focus on. And it becomes so clear after that. And that's where I think the next phase of like true growth really starts to happen.
Yeah, I tell it to clients all the time: control what you can control. There's going to be, you can't control the weather, but I can control getting up earlier, to make sure I have time for that drive. I can control that I got my meals prepared and ready for that next day. You can't control that the office has a lunch party, but you can control what you eat at the lunch party. There's things you control, and if you can control that, everything else can kind of fall into place, and you can work around those bad weather situations or crappy life situations. Control what you can control: your attitude, your effort, and your actions.
The preparation part, I still to this day pack a lunch, set all my clothes out for the gym and for the business day, I don't have to think about anything until 5:30 in the morning when I start my business day, maybe even later. The gym clothes are out, the business clothes are out, everything is ready for the day. My assistant manages my schedule and does all that, sends me a brief every morning. I don't do any of that, but I'm super prepped. There is rarely ever a time that I get caught unprepared for any situation I'm going to be in. Now there's times where I'm prone to under prepare until the last minute sometimes. And maybe it's a sense of urgency. Maybe it's just whatever, not doing what I need to do sometimes. But, I do have, flaws in that area, but the basics and the fundamentals are never something I skip over. And it's unconsciously done. I don't even think about it. My water jug is ready every day. Like it's done and not thought about. So that is probably one of the biggest staple habits, foundationally, that everybody and anybody should have. Not could, but should. You prepare to win every day, you're probably going to have a high likelihood of winning. But if you don't prepare for it, dude, it can lead to, like what you said. I didn't pack my lunch today. We're having a pizza party at work, and that's all I have to eat. So I overeat on that. It's like a spiral of bad decisions. If you don't stop the bleeding quick, it will lead to that.
Yeah, the greats were always prepared. I watched a Netflix documentary with David Beckham. I got big into soccer this past year. Don't know why, just did. And so watched this David Beckham documentary. He's one of the greats of soccer. And
I actually watched it too.
so
It's really good.
the part where he's showing off his closet, and it's all just organized by type and stuff. And they walk out of his closet, and I'm assuming it's like this dressing room. It's not even his room. And there's a rack of clothes there. And the person behind the camera, the interviewer, is like, well, what's that? And he kind of like smirks because he knows like this is ridiculous. But he's like, those are my clothes for the next week. Like he is prepped out for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, man, I would do that. I just don't have room. I don't have a clothes rack. I don't have room in I normally set my stuff on the next to the sink in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Get up, change, and get to work. But like that's what it takes. It's just okay, you don't have to have a week's worth of clothes, but why can't you lay them out the night before? So that way, when you wake up, you hit the ground running, you go, you don't think, you just do.
Well, at night, it's just habit, routine. In the morning, it's, oh, my family's still asleep. I got this, I got that. Oh, shit, I'm 10 minutes late for this meeting. Like the spiral of, inefficiency can start with one decision not being made the night before. Kind of like hydration. I tell people all the time, if you're already like on a Monday, if you go into work on Monday morning dehydrated, and especially in my industry where, especially in the winter or in the summer where everyone's outside sweating all day, if you start Monday morning dehydrated, you're likely not going to be caught up all week because it is going to set you back. You're going to sweat out what you put in, and you cannot overhydrate in a situation like that. Where you're dehydrated, sweating all day, you cannot ever catch up. It's not impossible, obviously, but it's very difficult. And to do so, you have to overconsume, which will make you sick. And the heat, like it's so hard to come back from that. Just start out the day right.
Yep.
Hydration to me starts on Sunday night. That's how I always frame it, and it just takes away that guesswork.
Mm-hmm.
And look at Mark Zuckerberg. He wears a navy blue shirt every day. Same exact shirt. I actually wear like this black Lululemon shirt. I wear one 90% of the time. It's the only time I don't is like in the winter. It's just they're comfortable. It's black. I'm cool with it. I don't give a shit what other people think. I'm good.
You streamline that decision. If you don't care, you like it, cut that decision out. You don't have to think about it the next day. It's just that's what I'm wearing. And yeah, that's the same thing with setting your clothes out for the day before, prepping your meals. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to lunch. It's just there. You've already made the decision when you were a little bit clearer headed. You're not just waking up in the morning thinking, oh, I got to make something. You made it the day before. You're ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And it's so simple. Mm-hmm. Back to the controllables. Very simple thing.
Yep.
So I want to close on a couple of different topics, or at least one little topic real quick. What is your starting point for anyone in a fitness journey? Like, just give me a couple sentences on it. I know what I've done to help people, but how do you establish that start?
We just touched on one, water. Drink water. Most people aren't drinking. Pretty much everyone's not drinking enough water. So I tell my group of people there's a core four. That's calories, protein, water, movement. Calories are going to determine what that weight is, on the scale. Protein or the macros, protein is kind of the biggest one that I stress, but the macros are going to determine what you look like at that weight on the scale. Micros will determine how you feel, but that's kind of minor. But so protein, calories, get your water in so you're not dehydrated. You're not going to operate. Your brain's not going to operate the way it should if you're dehydrated. And then move every day. Everyone's going to be at a different starting point. Someone, it could just be 20 minutes of walking every day. Just start moving. If you can just start doing paying attention to those four things, you'll see results. And then you just have to start fine tuning when you stall a little bit.
It's amazing. I love it. I feel the same way. I don't ever want to feel like when I help people now, it's them coming to me because they're in a place of uncertainty. They don't know what to do, and they just need to start. And I always start out with, I'm not going to take anything from you, but you need to add this in. And the byproduct is the elimination of the thing that's setting them back. So someone that's drinking too much pop, I'm not going to take the pop away from you right now. I'm going to have you drink a bottle of water for every pop, or 2 bottles of water for every pop, whatever it is. And what happens is they start to feel better, and they don't understand why. I don't feel better, it's just water. But eventually they quit drinking the pop because the water is the thing that's actually making them feel a little bit better. And I talk about hydration as a piece of equipment that doesn't have any grease in it. It's squeaky. It doesn't work right. It operates slow. It doesn't hardly move. It's so relevant to that analogy because you know as well as I do, if you're not hydrated, you just feel like a squeaky wheel. And it just feels like you're not moving fast, you're broken down, whatever it may be. And on the food part, you know, I always try to get a baseline maintenance weight, for my caloric intake. So don't change anything you do, but let's track your food for 2 weeks straight. Weigh yourself at the same time in the morning, first thing on a Monday. In 2 weeks, we'll do the same thing again, and track your food for that 2 weeks, and then that's a baseline.
Yeah.
And then obviously the macros from there, but just establishing
Yeah.
that caloric intake is huge. But the one thing at the very beginning that I start with is the hydration. So depending on the person, half a gallon to a gallon of water a day, and 21 days straight, 5 push-ups, 5 sit-ups, and 5 squats. Body weight. That's all you have to do. 21 days straight every day. And if you miss a day, you have to start back over. Come to me after that 3-week period is done. Let's talk. And what happens is it takes a total of probably, 30 seconds to do them. It doesn't take really any time, but it establishes that habit. I had a guy do it earlier in the year. I was blown away at his results. And I just had him do that. And he came back to me after that 21-day period and said, I did it, whatever. And dude, he lost like 17 pounds. And in the 21-day period would have probably been like 12, I think it was 7 or 12 pounds, something like that. But it's still a lot. I didn't anticipate him losing any weight. But it was like 17 pounds in a few weeks. And his goal was 30. And I told him, I was like, it'd probably take 4 months if you're doing it the right way, because he wasn't that big.
Yeah.
And dude, within 3 months, his life was turned around. His family, everything, like generational too. It was insane. And now he's just addicted to it, never going back. And not everybody's that way, but that habit formed at the beginning is so important. Starting out that way. And people bury themselves in bad habits. And whenever you dig yourself in a hole so far, you just got to put down the damn shovel. Put the shovel down and quit digging and climb out of that hole. And when you get out, fill it back in and don't ever look back and keep going forward. And I think you go as far as you can see certain times. And then when you get there, you're able to see a little bit further, and then you can just keep kind of going a little bit. And then it's like a breakthrough happens and the whole world becomes exposed to you. And then it's like an accelerator after that. But that foundational habit is so crucial.
Yep. And that's what you were saying was reminding me of Atomic Habits. It's not just about how to instill a habit. It's talking about the bad habits we have and how can you get rid of those. That's what really struck me with that book that you don't really understand just by seeing the title, is that it talked about, okay, not only here's how to instill a habit, here's what you do to get rid of a habit. If you're eating candy, don't have the candy in the room, out of sight, out of mind. So it's a good book. And yes, start like we talked about earlier. It's simple. Water, track your food, move a little bit. That's a pretty simple ask. Hard to execute every day, all the time, when you don't want to, when it's boring. But if you do the boring, if you can master that, you can have a successful story like that guy.
It really is that boring foundational, habit, whether good or bad, that leads to, the life you want or the life that you don't want. Just facing your shit, doing the simple thing repetitively, day after day. Whew, man, it isn't that damn hard, and I'm very transparent a lot of time. Yeah, I didn't want to get up at 3 a.m. either when I went to bed at 11:30, but I just fucking get up. I don't negotiate with myself. Well, how do you do it? I set my alarm clock. It's really that simple. Doesn't mean I mean, half the time, it may be more that I'm at the gym. I didn't feel like getting up and going. I don't consciously think about it. It's who I am, what I do, not what I feel like doing.
Yeah.
And there's a huge transition. We'll close with this because I think this is a good way to close the show today is when you can transfer motivation into non-negotiable discipline, everything changes. Everything changes. Talk about your experience in that regard.
But motivation is great, like it might be what gets you started, but you need to take that motivation and use it to build a discipline. Discipline is what takes you to the top of that mountain that we've been talking about. Motivation is fleeting. It's going to be there for today. So you better, knowing it's going to go away, knowing it's going to get boring, know it's going to get monotonous, you better use that motivation that you have today to build that habit, to be disciplined so that when you don't want to go, when you stayed up till 11, your alarm's going to go off at 3. You just do it.
Motivation is a feeling, and it's a spark. That's how the fire starts. It's a spark, but that fire can be put out real quick. I'm motivated to climb the Mount Everest. I guarantee when you get started up that hill, you're not going to be motivated to do it, but you rely on your discipline and your training and you fall back to that. And that's what ultimately gets you on top of that mountain. Matt, where can the people find you at? Where can the audience find Matt at?
I'm on Instagram, matt.jasper.39. 39 was the old baseball number. And on Facebook is Matt Jasper. 5G Fitness has a Facebook page. Still working on the website. That's one of the things to come. Working on an app. Another thing to come. So, yeah, follow me on Instagram. You'll get all those updates.
That's awesome, folks. Follow Matt. He's a real one, if you can't tell. An iron addict, a girl dad.
Yeah.
God bless us, girl dads. Matt, I appreciate coming on the show. This is awesome, man. Your story is absolutely amazing. Best luck to you, and I know that we'll be talking more as everything goes on. So appreciate coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Iron Infrastructure Podcast, and we're out. This episode is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. For all your supplement needs, go to maxeffortmuscle.com.